Hey, episode 37. Welcome back, Peter. How was your trip abroad?
Short, but good. Sometimes nice to get away from Bombay, and sometimes nice to get away from crackers, I guess.
Yeah, you missed all those blasts, but that's okay because today we have a lot more blasts. We have a lot of blast beats. Very bad segue, but
So we've got Karl Sanders from Nile on this episode. Really kicked about it.
yep. In fact, this is a little bit of a secret, but this was one of the reasons behind starting this whole exercise to be able to speak to our heroes at some point in time.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing Karl Sanders ranks amongst one of your biggest heroes.
Oh, definitely, man. I mean, like,
Why is that?
Nile, where do you start? A band like that has kind of like completely taken that sound. I mean, if you think about it, nobody sounds like Nile. I mean, there have been tons who've trying to imitate it, trying to come there. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's Egyptian bands also that play death metal that don't sound like Nile.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I mean, like, everything that he's done over the last 2 decades. And again, with Karl Sanders, it's not just Nile, it's also his solo albums that he's
Of course.
done.
I think for me, all the Saurian series, the two albums, those rank a bit above Nile's work, but that's only for me as a listener.
Oh, yeah. And I to a certain extent, agree with you. But, one thing I really admire about Nile is they've taken that sound and owned it. Like, they've made it their own. You'll never, the moment you hear any Nile album or any Nile song, they've got that distinct thing that, it's like, yeah, that's Nile.
I love that precision and the sharpness. It feels like if you would define Cannibal Corpse and those kind of bands as chainsaws, Nile isn't a chainsaw. Nile is like an axe, which you use, or a very sharp sword, which you use once to strike someone,
Like,
and it's so fucking precise all the time.
And to the extent that you said sword, Karl Sanders is a fucking samurai, man. He knows how to use that sword. I mean, precise as hell.
So, just to get to know you a bit better, which was your first Nile album, or how were you introduced to Nile?
So, Nile is, I think, once I slowly started getting into a little extreme metal. This is again when I was living in Abu Dhabi, about 18 years back. A friend of mine just gave me a bunch of burnt CDs and said, hey, you might want to check out these bands. So among them was Nile, Emperor, and the like. So just to get a variety, whether it's black or death metal. I think, yeah. So if I'm correct, it was Annihilation of the Wicked was the first album I heard. Boy, I think, I keep saying it, but there's something about that album, man. And you probably, those of you who've been listening to the podcast for a while, have realized that I keep gushing over these albums. But there's something like every time, even now when I listen to Annihilation of the Wicked, takes me back to that space where I was listening it to on my cheap, CD player, putting on those cheap headphones, and it sounded so good. It just kind of, that the intensity, the power in that album, and it just transported you to a different place. It made me feel that, whoa, I'm in some ancient Egypt. And then, of course, I lived in the desert, so you look around and you see desert, so it's not too hard to kind of run with that imagination. But the band is consistently, like, kind of topped their stuff. Although they had a couple of albums I wasn't too happy about.
Yeah, but that happens.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, right? Like, with a band like them, you kind of make those...
Yeah, and
passes.
I think that all has been rectified as such with the 9th album, which released today, which is November 1st. It's called, Wild Nilotic Rites?
Yeah.
And fuck, it's a banger of an album, man.
I mean...
Like, Nile's back to its roots, almost. And that's something that we talk a lot about with Karl.
And I must add, like, there's one thing we've been talking about when you listen to singles of bands, and we've questioned their choices of singles. The choices of singles are bang on, dude.
Yeah, man.
It gives you such a good insight into what's come. it gives you such a good preview of what's coming. I mean, those of you who are listening to this and have checked out the album, you know exactly what we're talking about.
And for those of you who haven't, hold on, listen to the interview and then check out the album, because that'll, I'm guessing, help you enjoy the album more, right? At least that's the way I would do it if I hadn't heard of the new album yet. So, with that being said, here he is, Karl Sanders.
And I'd like to welcome onto the show none other than Karl Sanders from the legendary Nile. Welcome to Horns Up, Karl.
Thank you, my friend. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Oh, it's a beautiful day here. It's blue skies and sunshine, and it's not too hot. It's beautiful here.
Yeah. So actually, I'm just going to kind of jog your memory a bit, because Animesh and I were chatting earlier today, and I was telling him about the time I met you 8 years ago, and I actually have a picture, and it's from a nightclub in Dubai. So my friends in Nerve Cell, you recorded a track for their album that they released then, and then you came down for their album release show. This was at the Atlantis in Dubai. And I still remember.
I remember that. Yeah, it was a really nice time we had. Yep.
Yeah, and I still remember being in awe that, oh my God, Karl Sanders is here. He's at the show with us. This is awesome.
But it was a good show. I really liked the Nerve Cell guys, and they're, of course, a great band and wonderful people.
Yeah, so, and to fast forward 8 years, now we're talking about your new album, While Nilotic Rites. So just to kind of dive straight into the album, the press write-up kind of straight hammers home the point that the album is a result of the collaboration between all the 4 band members, and you're kind of like getting into this album like a herd of horses. It also mentions that this is the first time you'll have used this approach since your debut album, Amongst the Catacombs of Nefrenka. So could you walk us through this process, and to begin with, what led the band and you to approach the album in this fashion?
Well, we really wanted to make an album where we could harness the potential of this lineup, because it's a new group of guys. There's a new feeling in the band. There's a lot of an era of rebirth and renovation, a renewed spirit, and enthusiasm. And there's also quite a bit of brotherhood going on lately, where we are trying to work as a team. So, with this album, we're trying to take that mentality and that spirituality and try and do something with that. What we can do as this team together. And that was in every part of the writing and the recording, all the way down from the new guitarist. He co-wrote 4 songs. He did the music for 4 songs. Let's see. He did Oxford Handbook. He did That Which... my brain just went south. That Which Is Forbidden. Yeah, That Which Is Forbidden. The Imperishable Stars Are Sickened, and Revel in Their Suffering. Yeah, and not only did he help with that, he brought riffs for other songs. The bass player, Brad Paris, he brought riffs to several songs. Even our drummer, George Coleus, contributed music for a song. Where is the Wrathful Sky? That's George wrote the music for that. So, everybody was trying to work together on this. And I haven't seen that spirit in this band since, Amongst the Catacombs of Nefrenka era.
Okay. How would you say this process of sorts affected Nile's sound on this album? I mean, did you take a backseat yourself here? And let everyone else play?
Absolutely. I don't take a backseat to anybody. That's never going to happen. But it's nice to have some help. I don't want to do it all by myself. It's, I want the other guys involved, to work together. I'm probably always going to write most of the band's music, but I don't have to do it all, and I don't want to do it. Working as a team is much better than fighting as a team. Yeah.
Right. So, principal songwriting to, collaboration, there would have been quite a bit of change. Did you all face any teething issues, if any, and how did you all resolve them?
No, we didn't really have any teething issues. The cooperation was there right from the start. These guys were hungry and dedicated and committed. So right out of the gate, they were ready to get to work, roll up their sleeves, and do whatever it took to, make this album happen. And I think you can really hear that. This is a very cohesive sounding record. It sounds to me, when I hear it, I hear the sound of people working together.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
all of you are surprisingly on, like it's very evident that all of you were together and on the same page right from the get-go. I mean,
Yes,
this
sir.
record just doesn't let up. It's so precise. It's mind-bogglingly wow, like it just fits, everything is just fitting into the pocket.
Yep, absolutely. We feel it the exact same way, and I'm really anxious, for the metal fans to hear, what we've managed to do as a team. It feels pretty good. It feels, like Metal Brotherhood to me.
No, and,
Awesome.
I'm going to use the cliche term here, but there's no real fat on this album because we were just discussing after a couple of spins, and I was like, whoa, this is really something.
You've really said the truth there, which is why it took so long to write, because we were busy trimming the fat off the songs. So you don't have to hear all the riffs that were almost as good. We got rid of them. If the riff wasn't going to work for the song, it had to go. And, sometimes that's painful, you know.
Hmm.
So it takes a real dedication to be willing to make those sacrifices. Sometimes it's something you really love. Like at the end of Revel in Their Suffering, there used to be another 4 minutes of the most incredible guitar soloing that I'd ever heard Brian do in his life. It was so fucking good that by the time that guitar solo finished, you didn't even care about the first 5 minutes of the song. It was that fucking good. But we said, wait a minute. Then why is there even a song here? We gotta make a choice. We could have the song be great, or we could have the guitar solo be great. So the guitar solo had to go. It was tough. It was a tough sacrifice to make. Then that's just one small example. Every single song had some things like that. Like maybe it was a vocal part that wasn't quite good enough, but we loved, or maybe it was a drum part that George loved that wasn't working. Whatever had to be done to trim the fat from these songs, we did it, even if it was painful.
Now, hopefully, we get to hear something of that, maybe like extended cut or a different version of the album or something of that sort. Have you ever thought of that?
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm of the frame of mind, once I'm finished working with some songs, I'm done with them. And next time we start writing a new record, I'll probably want to start fresh.
All
Okay.
right.
All right. So let's shift gears here to another point. Here's something that stems from being part of a band myself. From what I understand, you guys reached the recording studio amazingly well prepared, right down to recording with a demo that was almost nearly finished.
Yes, sir.
Um, that's an idealistic process. I mean, it's one that encourages and rewards a lot of preparation. I'd like to understand if you think that there are any cons to the approach. What happens if you think of a new note or a new melody while you're recording on the recording floor?
That's a fabulous question. Uh, we try to give ourselves the freedom, like if we have an idea, like right there in the recording studio, to capitalize on it, give it a try. And maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But we always say, it's better to try the idea and it fails than to never try the idea at all. In fact, it became almost a joke. Like when we were tracking vocals, Brian would do something and he'd finish and it would be great. And then he'd go, wait, I got another idea. And we heard this all day long. It'd be, wait, I got another idea. Wait, I got another idea. In fact, it was so much of a joke that, my wife, who was downstairs, my home studio is where we record, she could, overhear him saying, wait, I got another idea all day long. It was quite something.
So was all that preparation then, did it make space for the new ideas?
I think we found, and this may be true for us, but I don't know if it's true for everybody, but we found that having been prepared, even if you're going to change the idea, the fact that you put the work in to prepare first means that you're in a better place to make a decision. Is the new idea actually better or not? Because sometimes the new idea isn't as good as what you prepared. Sometimes it is. You just have to try and try to use your judgment.
All right. Okay, this next one comes as a follow-up to this process as such and preparation and just reading a lot about how you function. I understand that it's all about practice, right? And I know you put in a lot of hours just
Yeah.
practicing.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything or have you ever thought that there's anything called too much practice?
Well, I've heard that said. Uh, I think if one is experiencing uh, some symptoms from burnout, then it's probably time to put the guitar down and go do something else for a little while. Um, uh, but that's only if you've reached a point of, your brain is exhausted. Um, is there such a thing as too much practice? Probably not. If you're moving forward, if you're not doing anything productive with it and you're just wasting time, well, then you're just wasting fucking time. One must always be aware of, am I doing something that is helping or am I just fucking off? Uh, yeah, I think that's the key element is self-awareness. Am I pushing forward or am I fucking off? If you're fucking off, then it's time to go do something else because your brain isn't focused anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So wait, since we're on this point, have you ever experienced burnout, and what do you do to come back into your firing zone? Because that's
I
something
do
that a
martial
lot
art.
of us creative guys do.
I do martial arts in my spare time, and I find
Oh
it
yeah, the
it
Taekwondo black.
really. Yes, sir. I also do. I'm a fourth degree black belt in Sun Jitsu, and I find that it really clears my head because when someone else is trying to punch you and kick you in the face, you're not thinking about that chord you played wrong. Well, no, you're thinking about, there's somebody trying to punch me or kick me in the face. And that's all you think about. And I think that's wonderfully refreshing. It clears the mind, it clears the soul. And I always come back mentally refreshed.
Lovely. So all the guitarists and songwriters out there, Carl Sanders, what he does, and remember this: when he gets stuck in a creative rut, he goes out and beats some people.
Yes.
Like just to come back to the press note that we received, and this one line kind of stood out for us. And if I can quote, it says, "Nile has a new ethos. We're not going to live in the past." What's the rationale, if we could ask, behind the statement? Does the past burden you?
No, the past does not burden us. The
All right.
past is often problematic for fans. Like, and I'm not angry, and I don't blame fans because I'm guilty of this myself. Like, for instance, I love Ride the Lightning by Metallica. right? It's my
Hey, so do I.
favorite
Okay.
fucking Metallica album. Okay?
Sorry. This is a kind of joke that's been going on because we did an episode recently where we compared Ride the Lightning to Master of Puppets. So yeah, that's the only reason Animesh is laughing on this.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Anyways.
Well, okay. So I love, well, I actually love Master Puppets as well. You know, Ride the Lightning, Master Puppets. You know,
Take
two
that,
great
Animesh.
albums. Metallica at their best. So, you know, the music Metallica does now, well, you know, I would prefer to listen to Ride the Lightning than anything they do now. Well, I find that this happens with, you know, fans of death metal as well. There's people that come up to me and say, "Oh, dude, you should do another record like Annihilation of the Wicked," or "Hey, dude, you should do another In Their Darkest Shrines," or "Dude, why don't you do a record like blah 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 blah?" You know, but I'm not interested in doing that. Today is 2019. I don't want to do the same record over again. What I want to do is respect the fundamental principles and ideas on which the band was founded. Yes, we're not going to change our identity, but do I want to make the same record again? No, it's time to write some new songs. It's time to kick some new asses.
So just to bring back, because I have to ask you this, because I was also at your show in Bangalore in 2017, and
Oh, that was a lot of fun. We really
yeah,
enjoyed that stuff.
yeah, and just looking around, just seeing everyone just kind of rocking out to all the music we've been listening to for years, to finally like on listening it on cassettes and CDs to now seeing it live. But I'm glad you said that because from all around the world. Uh, if I could kind of put you on the spot, what are the countries or shows that really stand out in your memory?
Well, you know, the Bangalore Fest is one of them. I remember arriving and seeing the beautiful stage set they had built and thinking to myself, wow, I wish every show was this fucking cool. Um,
Ooh.
yeah, yeah, that was really very cool. I also remember in 2003 when we were playing Vakken, we were playing right before Slayer. Right.
Hmm.
So it was the best possible crowd you could possibly hope for as a metal band to play before Slayer plays, right? Is there a bigger dream than this? I don't think so. Um, and wow. Yeah, I'll never forget that as long as I fucking live. I also remember we played Rock Al Park in Colombia, South America. Uh, it was a free concert. So the night we played, there were 125,000 music fans there. That's a lot of fucking people. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Wow. I won't forget that either. As far as I could see, there were music fans. As far as my eyes could see, there was people. Wow. That's just mind blowing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, just to kind of ask you this, because you recently completed 25 years as a band, and I'm very curious to know you've released 9 albums, your ninth album now with Nile, you've got 2 solo releases. After so many years, what keeps you motivated to keep recording music, performing, touring? What keeps you going?
It's what I love. Um, and I think that's the truest possible motivation. I love metal. I love playing guitar. I love playing the music for the people. I love the bond that is between the audience and the band on the stage. And when everybody gets on the same wavelength together, we're all banging our heads together. Man, that is the most purest, most electric feeling of community and bond that it's I've found nothing else that compares to it.
All right. I know we're running out of time, so here's kind of like a finale question. There's this quote that stuck with us from an interview you did with Invisible Oranges way back in 2010, where you defined death metal's purpose for the world. At that time, you said it's a form of music that helps people realize that all of us have a limited life, and instead of being pessimistic about that, we should try and live life to the fullest. That quote is almost 10 years old now. Do you feel the same way today?
Absolutely.
Why is
Absolutely.
that?
What we have, my friend, all that we have, all that we are holding in the palm of our hands is today. Tomorrow is not promised to us. You could die, I could die any day. I could walk out of my house and a car could hit me. Or I fly to the next tour or show and my plane crashes. I mean, who knows? I hope that doesn't happen. Uh, but nothing is promised us. So, I think we have to realize that life is finite. Uh, and the time to bang our heads and make metal is right now. The time to be metal is today, not tomorrow, not yesterday, today.
On that note, I just want to say thanks a lot, Carl, for taking time out to do this interview. After that awesome show in 2017, I'm really glad to hear you also enjoyed it. So I hope to see you back in India soon, probably
Me
promoting
too.
the album. Uh,
Me too.
any
Me
final
too.
words you want to leave our listeners with?
I really am awaiting the day when we get to come back and play another show in India. It will be a great day. Fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah,
Awesome.
and horns up to you.
Hands up, Carl.
Horns up, brothers. Yeah, I had a great time. Thank you so much for making
Thank,
this interview so awesome.
All
we're
right,
really
thank you.
Wow. Are you happy?
I have no words, man. Seriously, I just can't believe that actually happened. I'm glad I could speak a lot more this time compared to the time I met Karl Sanders in person, which, if I recollect well, was, "Hi, I'm Peter, big fan. Can I take a picture with you?" Dude. And I think I shared this picture with you. If you see the
Yeah.
expression on my face, it's like, "Oh my god, I'm near Karl Sanders from Nile. Look at my horns up."
I love the reaction of the security guard that's standing beside you. He doesn't know what the fuck he's supposed to do. Should he put a restraining order or should he come and, like suplex you away from Karl Sanders? I have no idea what he's thinking about, but I'm pretty sure those are the 2 or 3 thoughts he has in his head at that moment. You guys should see that picture. Peter, you tweet that from the Horns Up ID this time.
Done. And no, he's not a security guard. So he also used to organize gigs in Dubai back in the day. Not sure what he does right now. But yeah, I get why you could have thought or mistaken him for a security guard. But yeah, man, it's still surreal that, I went from like being a fanboy to now like doing this interview with him, and rightly so, man. I mean, the album, like we said earlier, is an absolute banger. We've talked in the past about, singles not meeting the expectations for the rest of the album, but these singles are bang on. I mean, when I heard it, I was like, okay, is the rest of the album going to meet up? And then I heard the rest of the album. Oh boy, I mean, they're rightly saying that, it's like a new band.
Yep, completely reinvigorated. So the taste of the pudding is best had when eaten, or some weird ass proverb or something of that sort. That's the saying, right?
Yeah.
So let's give the audience a taste. If you guys have already got the album, just cue that up. And for those who haven't, for those who want the taste, here's the lead single. It's called Long Shadows of Dread. But before we leave you, quickly, you can check out Peter's photo of him fanboying over Karl Sanders at Horns Up Pod. That's our Twitter ID. Peter, you're at
Trend Crusher.
I'm at Asmoani. Here it is, Long Shadows of Dread from Nile's latest album, Wild Nilotic Rites.